are good, good, good. Oh God, you're so good. You are good, good, good. God, you're so good.
Welcome to the Good Stuff Family Podcast. I'm Dawn Kendrick, and I am so glad you're here. This is the place you're going to find genuine inspiration in authentic, vulnerable stories that are distinctly different than anything you'll see in mainstream media. The story that binds all of these together, it's my own testimony. A candid, transparent story of my own journey. Holy shift, grit, grind, divine design. Stories from a former news reporter with a renewed purpose. Welcome to the family.
Since you said let that be. Oh, it's your love, it's your love, it's your love that's alive in me.
The Murphys Don't Quit story is one of resilience and faith out of the journey through a traumatic brain injury. But Colleen and Lauren Murphy's story, I'm telling you right now, y'all, it is universal in its message. Essentially, 3 words: don't give up. It is real and it is raw, and it is not for the faint of heart. Tears for me from this page turner of a book, and tears of laughter as well. I mean, more than I can even count. You should see the book. It's all highlighted. This, you guys, is the recipe for real resilience. And it is right here in the story of the Murphys Don't Quit. That's why I'm so excited to bring to you tonight this interview with Colleen Murphy, who has joined us right now. She's backstage. I'm going to pull you in. Hi, Mama.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm just so grateful that you took the time to do the interview here. I have spent not long, but every single night in this book. This is it, y'all. I highly recommend it. Murphys Don't Quit. And just to give you some idea, look at this. This is like just one page. Yeah. So to have you here, it's such a pleasure for me to be able to bring this interview. So would you start us, if you would, if we go back your story, if we start with April 19th of 2013, give me a window, Mama, into your world that day.
Sure. So it was typical Friday. I was just getting ready to cut out of work a little bit early. I have 7 kids, but my 5th daughter, Kelsey, was a junior in high school at the time, and she was in spring soccer season for high school. So I was cutting out of work just a tad early so I could make it to her 4:00 soccer game. I worked in the healthcare field, and I just had a TB test, so I had to go run by and have my TB test read, and then I was going to head on over to the soccer field. And I was merging onto the highway, and I had a video playing on my phone, which was for a Rick Springfield fan getaway vacation at Club Med. I'm a crazy Rick Springfield fan. And when it came across my feed, I was just like annoyed because, with family obligations, I couldn't go be, a groupie. I would love to be a fangirl and go, but, I was a soccer mom, so that wasn't an option. So I was merging onto the highway and my phone rang. And it was a private number. Most of us don't answer private numbers. We have that, the ability with call waiting just to deny it. But for whatever reason, I answered it. And the guy identified himself as a Los Angeles detective. And the first thing he said to me was, "How are you related to Lauren Murphy?" Now, my first reaction was like, what did she do? Why are the police calling me? She had been on a business trip in Los Angeles. I had talked to her earlier that morning. And he then went on to tell me that she had been involved in an accident. And my second thought is, why isn't she calling me? And as the conversation unfolded, I realized we were dealing with something, a little more serious than maybe a broken bone or two. So he gave me a phone number of a hospital social worker to call. So that was my next phone call. I said a quick prayer as I dialed the phone because somehow I already knew it was bad. And when I talked to the detective at that time, I had asked him if she had a head injury. I don't know why I asked that, but I did. And he said no. He said that she did not have a head injury, but he thought she had some internal injuries and she was brought to the hospital. Now, when the social worker answered, again, I asked if she had a head injury. Looking back now, I think I somehow already knew the answer, and it was just mother's intuition. And she said, "I'm sorry. She has a severe head trauma." And because I worked in the healthcare field, but on the insurance side, I knew how serious head injuries were. And I asked if Lauren was going to make it. And there was a long pause. And she said, if you're asking me if you need to come, the answer is yes. So I hurried up, got all the information down, called my husband, let him know what was going on. He started working on getting us, the quickest flight we could out of Lambert Airport. And I somehow just, found my way home. I have no idea how I even arrived home. At that point, I was just in complete shock.
And that plane ride to go see her, give me a window into your heart and your soul in that moment.
So it was really dark at that time. And I had gotten a phone call while I was at the airport from the brain surgeon. And he had called me, before, as I was on my way home from work, he had called me and let me know that they were taking her back for emergency surgery. And they were going to remove part of her skull to try to relieve the swelling, to try to save her. And so I knew she was having surgery, and he was going to call me when it was over. And for whatever reason, my phone went right to voicemail. So I missed the call. And, when I went to go call back, I don't know what I was expecting, but that went straight to the nurse. I wasn't able to talk to the brain surgeon, and he was just giving me the report. And at that point, he told me that the damage was much more severe than they had anticipated. And they were supposed to remove that little piece of her skull behind her ear and surgically implant it into her stomach so it would remain nourished and they could reattach it later. Well, when they got in there, the damage was so severe that her skull was shattered. They couldn't save it. So that was going to be a problem we were going to have to deal with later. She was going to need a prosthetic skull. And her brain damage was so severe that they had to remove a large portion of her frontal lobe. So she had
and the doctor's telling all of you this on the phone call, telling all of this to you on the phone call in an airport.
Yes, the nurse. So, at that point, I'd never heard of anybody having a piece of their brain removed. And I asked if she was ever going to be able to live a normal life. And his response was, I don't know. So that's all I knew, at the time that I boarded that plane. And, I had paid to have the internet so that I could keep in contact with my oldest daughter, Sam, who, dropped everything and ran over to the house to take care of the rest of the kids. And she was in constant contact with the hospital. They were calling with updates. So she was able to text me what the updates were, or email me what the updates were. I don't even think they did like texting on the airplanes at that point. I think it was all through email. So at that point, we didn't know if she would be alive when we got there, and it was just that, and we had to stop in Chicago first too, which just prolonged the trip. But it was hard. I actually preferred, the plane going down to landing and getting there and driving to watch one of my children die. I didn't want to be on that plane. I didn't even want to be alive at that moment because I knew, and it's, I know people that have lost children, and it's every parent's worst fear, and every parent would rather trade places. And at that point, my mind was so dark. I was just like, I don't even want to face this. I can't face this. I just wanted to throw my hands in the air and give up. But, you have to go in mom mode, and you can't do that. That was what was in my heart. Like, I can't do this, but you can, and you have to, and you got to put on your big girl pants. And that's what I did. And, you just got to face it.
And I'm telling you, reading this, I felt your heart. I could feel your heart. So I appreciate so much how vulnerable and candid you were. And I wonder would you be willing to read on page 13, because you get to the hospital. Sure. And the way this writing was such good writing in this paragraph about when you started to walk down to Lauren's room. This I thought was so poignant.
Okay. Lauren's room was down a long hall, second to last on the left. Nurse Becky was there waiting for us. As I stepped inside, it felt like walking in quicksand. Though only a few steps away from my daughter, it seemed like an eternity before I finally reached her bedside.
Quicksand. Like, that's so descriptive. And then, so this was this is you and Lauren pre-accident.
Yes. Yeah, that was my first trip to New York because she had lived in New York at the time. She had just moved there, like that December, and that was in July.
And then you walk down that hall like quicksand, and this is your Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Mama, give us a window at that moment.
Yeah. So when we walked in, and when we even just walked down the hallway, it was like everybody in that unit stopped what they were doing, and you could just feel all eyes on us, and you could feel, that they were just so sympathetic to what we were about to see. And her nurse was there. It's Becky in the book, but her real name was Bridget. But she just started explaining, what all the machines did, because I think, we were just standing there shell shocked. And she had called for the doctor that was on call. It was just like the house doctor, not her brain surgeon. And he came down to explain to us what was going on. And, brain surgeons aren't really known for their personalities. They're not real warm and fuzzy. And he was very matter of fact with everything. And, he did not have much to offer us as far as hope. What he did say was, if she survives, and, the word if was the hard one. He said, we're looking at months or, years and years for any type of recovery. And that, and as we stood there just shocked, as he turned to leave to break the awkward silence, he said, your daughter is the sickest patient in this whole hospital. And then he turned and left. And Bridget was stuck there, kind of picking up the pieces of these parents that, our world was just shattered. And, we didn't even ask questions because we didn't want to know the answer. So it was just, my husband, God love him, he had no idea what he was facing because he's never seen anybody with a head injury. And, I don't think he realized how bad it was. And he had to sit in a chair. I thought he was going to fall over, and it was hard. And not to offend any men listeners, but men aren't as strong as women in times like this, especially when it comes to their kids, because men are fixers. They're used to fixing everything for their daughters, putting the Barbie head back on, making the strap on the high heel shoe with extra holes so it will fit on your strap on your ankle. All of those things he could fix, but he couldn't fix this. And it was hard. It was really hard.
And your relationship with Dave too, I laughed the whole time. But here's the thing: you realize early on, from the second Sam picked up all the the emails for you, this family is a family that works together, that stays together, and has done this together. And that underlying theme was so inspirational as well. So again, this is hard to look at, but we're going to do it because it's real and it's raw. But this is what had to be done, correct?
Yeah, and that was her third brain surgery. So that was her hair had grown back a lot. So that
she had 4 total.
She had 4 total, and that was her third. So that was
that's when they put the skull in, right? This
correct. That was that one.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that picture is just like you said, for a mom. You wrote in the book that you were trying to imagine her without that part of her skull. And here's her good friend Court.
Mm-hmm.
There. So what are we looking at here, Mama?
So that is with the skull missing. And some days I would come in and her head would be nice and round, depending on the fluid. And some days I would show up in the morning and it would be completely flat like that because her brain fluids would fluctuate. And it was flat more times than round. And it was really, really hard to look at because it was such a sharp edge and
a contrast to, here, this is her at a wedding previously, right?
Yeah, that was at a friend's wedding. Yeah. It was hard.
So here, this is her, of course, because look at what I'm struck by in this picture. She has her nail polish perfect because she was ever is a diva the right word?
Yes, definitely. And, in those days, there wasn't much I could do to help her.
Yeah.
So that's all I could do. I kept her nails painted. I kept her eyebrows plucked. Once we got rehab, we did full makeup, but in the ICU, we did do nails.
And you insisted on blinging out her helmet there, huh?
Yeah. It was a little ridiculous, and over the top, but that's what the Murphys do.
I love it so much. Here she is. So I'm going to just run through some of these pictures at this stage. Okay. After this was in the process of 4 different brain surgeries. And then here, this is the high heels, high hope. Tell me what that's all about. The t-shirt.
Yeah, so one of her classmates from Incarnate Word, which is where she went to high school. If you're from local to St. Louis, you probably know what Incarnate Word Academy is. They started this campaign. There was a picture of Lauren that she had on, her and her roommate had on matching shirts the day they moved to New York, and it said high heels, high hopes. So they just kind of took that idea and ran with it because they saw that photo on Facebook. I think might have been her profile picture at the time. If not, it was a previous profile picture. But they asked people, I think the following week, to, in honor of Lauren, take pictures of themselves in high heels to show support. And it just spread like wildfire. We had people all over. We had men's softball teams. We had men sitting in their cubicles with high heels. We had soldiers in Afghanistan. We had little girls in first communion dresses. I mean, you name it. People got really, really creative, and they started a Facebook page that was High Heels for High Hopes for Lauren. And every time we got one of those photos, it was just like a warm hug, from, everybody, and just to see the reach of her supporters, which it was really cool for us to see and feel the love.
This picture is so telling as well.
Mm-hmm.
Speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's Courtney's hand. And that one, it's too young looking to be my hand. I think it's Courtney.
Right.
It's not as
well. And Courtney is like a sister to her. That's like your other daughter.
Yeah.
So it ends up from the hospital. Then she goes on to Chicago, correct? From Cedars-Sinai, she heads on to Chicago.
Yes.
And tell me about these shoes. And this is her on the plane. Again, I should say quickly, if you're listening to this in podcast mode, you can go to thegoodstufffamily.com or to our YouTube page, The Good Stuff Family with Dawn Kendrick, and you can see the video stream of this interview that we're doing. So again, we're looking at Lauren in the plane. Explain to me these shoes.
Sure. So she had to wear these big boots, and they're called Prafo boots. And that's to prevent a condition that's called drop foot. And drop foot is basically just how it sounds. If you're bedridden and your heels are kind of straight up in the air and you're not walking, your muscles will relax and your feet will drop. And then when you're up and trying to walk, you're going to be walking on your toes because they're going to curl under. So she had to wear these big, orthopedic boots 24/7. And her friend Courtney was like, if she's going to wear these big, ugly boots, we're going to make them a little chic. So she took some red construction paper, cut it off, taped it to the bottom, and wrote Louboutin on them and made them little Christian Louboutin shoes. So in this picture on the airplane, you can see how tattered the construction paper is, because she's had those on for, 5-6 weeks at this point. And we just, we were pretty crazy and pretty obnoxious, but, we kept it light.
And again, it's trying to hold on to as much normalcy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, it turns out when you get to Chicago, I just want to read this too. This is such powerful writing. To me, the doctor is holding up an 8x10 photo in front of her. And you said, to me, it looked like her eyes were still lost within her soul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she had no clue the picture was even in the room, much less inches from her face. But 127 days later, she came home. Let's show this video.
The miles are getting longer, it seems. The closer I get to you. I've not always been the best man, a friend for you, but your love remains true. And I don't know why you always seem to give me another try. Places and
Lauren Murphy, everybody in the house.
Hi, how are you?
I am so good. I'm about to tell you something. My IWA, Incarnate Word Academy, Red Knight sister.
Oh,
I'm class of 1988. Woo, woo.
Woo!
Oh, incarnate word. Okay, we'll spare the audience the rest of it. But wow, I'm always proud to be from there, but even more so now to see what an example you have set. When you watch that video, the homecoming, what is that for you? What do you think when you see all those people?
I mean, there are about 3,000 people.
No, not that many,
I'm
but
so
200
sorry.
people.
Oh, 200 people.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah.
No, it
No,
looked like 3,000. It
Yeah,
I
probably
know.
felt
Yeah.
like it.
Woo.
Yeah. So Lauren has no memory of that. She actually missed a whole 2 years of
Yeah.
time to the accident until 2 years later. So
Yeah.
it's cool for her to watch these and for me to, tell her the stories of the support that she had, because at this point she was still lights are on, but nobody's home.
Yeah. And I watch that though, and I think of the power of out of what we call really God, really moments, like when you get the call that she
course.
has a traumatic brain injury. But then it's like, really, God, these are your friends and your family, and you probably didn't even know how loved you are. And then you go on to inspire now, Lauren. Let's talk about these. I took notes. The 5 keys. The 5 keys. Walk me through those. Would you list them off for me? The 5 keys that we can all learn about in this book, Murphy's Don't Quit.
Of course. Number 1, show up. 2, find your cheerleader. 3, work hard. 5,
You forgot number 3.
Number 3, kindness is free. 4, work hard. Oops.
You're good. And number 5,
Never give up. Never give up.
I love that. I love it. And so, Colleen, would you mind on page 215 on that point of never give up at 215, you wrote, had I listened. Could you just read us that little excerpt there? I'm trying to take our listeners into kind of a window of what I felt when I was reading this in 215. If I had listened.
Sure. Had I listened to the doctors and therapists, Lauren's future could have been one of living in a long-term care facility, simply existing. Instead, she is thriving and captures the hearts and minds of everyone she comes in contact with. Never underestimate the power of the human spirit. Keep moving forward, no matter how slow the progress. You got this.
You got this. It seems like that's the message for everyone, right? Lauren, are you finding people who haven't had traumatic brain injuries, how they're inspired by you? Are they telling you how they're learning how to live better?
They're very inspirational. And
Yeah, that's one of our favorite things after we speak, right? When people share their stories and
Yeah.
And
You spoken to kids, even little kids who have the funniest little questions. And
yes.
that was funny, huh? When those little kids had all their funny questions. Tell me about kindness is free. Another 3 words. What does that mean?
Shoot. I'm trying to think.
So you don't have to spend money to be kind, right?
You have to be kind.
Yeah. And what is the quote that we like by Mother Teresa or Saint Teresa? Be
kind. Work
whenever
possible.
It is
always possible.
It is always possible. I love that so much. And do you want to tell us quickly, for our people who are listening, you have what's called aphasia. And not too many people know. I guess I read in your book that it's common. 84% of people have never even heard of it. What do you want people to know about aphasia?
What do you want people to know? Is it easy or is it hard?
No, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. That's probably Lauren's biggest stumbling block as far as her recovery goes. And, it's hard. It's really, really hard. And sometimes she can understand what people say. Sometimes she has no idea, what they're saying, but she kind of fakes her way through it. And, finding her words is tough. It's like we've all had those moments where that word's on the tip of our tongue. But for people living with aphasia, it's like that with every single word they say. It's so hard just to get it out and retrieve it. from their brain. And, for, several years, we couldn't have conversations. She couldn't order her own food in restaurants. I had no idea what she, needed or wanted. I could pretty much tell her basic needs by, body language and just knowing your own child, but she couldn't talk about feelings. She couldn't talk about, the important stuff. And the silence was deafening. And, slowly but surely, I got my girl back, and
I'm back.
yeah. So, now, we, now she gets in trouble for what she says instead of, I just wanted her to say something. Now I'm like, now you just need a filter, but we make the best of it.
Well, we have that in common too then, Lauren. We both went to incarnate and we could use a filter. Yeah. And so what happened is you're teaching people about aphasia. People are showing up in leaps and bounds. We have these armbands that you handed out. And Lauren, you got to tell me about this friend of yours. What's going on here?
I really don't know her. I do know her.
Yeah. So Taylor Swift, she showed up to meet your parents at Cedar Sinai, said she was praying for you and thinking of you. And lo and behold, spoiler alert, she got to see you on the flip side. Again, when she saw you, it was probably something like this, right, Mama?
Yeah.
The first time?
Yeah.
And then look at this, y'all. That's it. If pictures are worth 1,000 words, what's that like when you met Taylor Swift?
It was just breathtaking because meeting her, and it was just.
Yeah. Do you remember what she left behind? What did we have?
She left me. What's that color?
Her sweater.
A sweater. It's gold.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, it has a little.
The sleeves are too long.
I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, she's a little taller than Lauren.
Yes.
But yeah, when she left the sweater in the hospital room, so Lauren has that hanging proudly in her closet. But
it's still there.
But yeah, she is the real deal. She is just as genuine as she can be.
I could tell.
I went back to her concert again.
Yeah, that's that picture. Yeah.
And she even called a FaceTime call to your sisters, did she not?
Yeah.
Yeah, she did.
So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so she was one of the people cheering you on. Also, so we're both from St. Louis. We actually live in the O'Fallon area now too. We have that in common. And now that we're friends, I plan on popping over and hanging out with you guys. Just heads up.
Yeah.
But look at this. I loved this. This is arguably one of the most famous St. Louisans. Let's take a look at this.
Hey Lauren, Kurt Warner here. Just saying the Warner family wishes you well. We're praying for speedy recovery. God bless you. Hey Lauren, Kurt Warner here.
He talk about faith. He and his wife are real deal. Yes. Yeah. So you had all of this support, Lauren, and how important was that in the fact that we're talking to you today?
It was just so amazing to see everything and everyone that
you had a lot of help. Yeah, you had a lot of help.
Amen. Okay, yeah. I want to get right to this video. It's my favorite of this whole segment. You and your mama, you ended up actually speaking at Incarnate Word Hall of Fame speech in 2017. You're the 2006 IWA graduate. That was a huge week because you ended up having a seizure before the speech. And your mama said you were great in practicing it, but now it was like you were stuck. Mama, do you want to elaborate a little bit on that before we show my favorite video? But for people who are listening to this, who can't relate to that, being stuck, Mama, what do you say to people who are feeling stuck in their own, maybe not traumatic brain injury, but in their own lives?
Yeah, just, keep going, put one foot in front of the other. And, sometimes we feel like things are never going to get better. And you know what? Maybe they won't be better tomorrow. And maybe they won't be better the next day or even 6 months from now. But just, the one thing that's for sure is the sun's going to come up tomorrow and brighter days are ahead. And just keep moving forward and keep focusing. And someday you're going to look back and think, how did I get here? And it's from being positive and just keep moving.
Amen to that. You agree, Lauren?
Of course.
There's something about hearing words like that from someone who has been through it, through a family who has been through it, been there, done that. Trust me, those are powerful words. So,
Yeah.
okay, here we go. I feel like we should have a drum roll. Brrr. We're going to fast forward to 2019 when, Lauren, what were you? The commencement speaker?
For what school?
Font University.
Because is it the trainer who you run with that recommended you?
No, there was a professor that she worked with in the speech clinic that has now become a good friend of ours. But yeah.
And Mama, when they said, I'm gonna nominate the two of you to give the commencement speech, because you had been doing a few speaking engagements.
Yeah,
right?
I think we'd only done one or two when they recommended us. And I thought, okay, yeah, we'll do it. And she was like all for it. And then when I realized,
yes,
oh wait, that's 3,000 people. What did we get ourselves into? I mean, like she has a
I have the inspiration and go get her.
I knew she would be fine with doing it, but I was a little public speaking wasn't on my bucket list.
Oh, Ma.
But when people say, sometimes people can speak a lot and have no effect. Even on what you just said, those few words, Lauren, they are powerful. Maybe you're a woman of few words now, but I'm a go-getter. Are you kidding me? No excuses, everybody listening to this. She's a go-getter. Go get it done. So here we go. Let's take a quick look at a little snippet of that commencement address that y'all did.
Obviously, most of you are not going to have a catastrophic injury to deal with like Lauren has. We hope nobody has a catastrophic injury to deal with. But you will meet some roadblocks and some detours. And we hope that you remember this day and remember these lessons that Lauren shared with you might make that road just a little bit smoother. So Lauren, can we recap?
Of course. Number 1, show up. 2, find your cheerleader. 3, kindness is free. 4, work hard. 5, never give up. You got this, class of 2019. You got this. Thank you.
You say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short.
A standing ovation. When you see that, Lauren,
That
what you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that was her first standing ovation of many. Now that we're a few years out, which is really cool to see, as a mom, that the reaction that, my daughter gets from others, just from.
You were so confident, Lauren.
Confidence is key.
Yeah, she's always been really confident.
I love that.
Confident sometimes, yeah.
Oh, Ma.
Confidence is key. And another favorite slogan of the Murphy family that I personally subscribe to is fake it till you make it. You did it.
Got this.
Yeah.
You did it. You just take the next best step. And Mama, you thought, oh my gosh, how is she going to find the words? And the best advice came from the person who nominated y'all. And she said, if it's perfect, it's not going to be inspirational.
Yeah.
Please, if you're listening to this, y'all, take that away. Correct? You don't have to be perfect to be.
Yeah.
It's in our struggles.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think anytime we do speak, when she does slip up, I think you can feel the audience is like rooting her on and the energy in the room. And it shows the struggle. And I mean, you would have no idea how many hours and hours and hours of practice goes into her giving a speech. And, for somebody else that could just read something off a card, somebody with aphasia, it's not so easy. Those words are all jumbled and the letters are backwards. And, it's really, really hard. Something that's so simple for you and I, for Lauren, it's really, really tough. And the amount of work she puts in is crazy.
Also, I'm thinking gratitude for people listening. Look, if you were able to find words today, that's a good place to start with gratitude, because even when Lauren Murphy couldn't, she found a way to keep taking the next, and you still are. So after that, you started running again. Yes. 38 total 5Ks. How many people can say that? That's fantastic. And you know, Lauren, what I love the most is, Mama, could you do me a favor? Will you read on page 209? Do you have that one marked? Because I want to get to this quickly before we move on to the second part of this. But I loved that you, all these things you've been able to do. I love the answer that you had for your mama. Will you set us up on that paragraph, Mama?
Okay, wait a minute. Are you sure it's 209?
The thing I wish for you the most, that part? Maybe I can read it. Let me see. One moment, please. Let me see. 209. One moment, please. Maybe did I have the wrong? Yeah. Essentially, you said, what is the one thing you wish for the most?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that was, yeah, we
You're
had
saying
that one.
continue to have goals.
Yes. Okay.
You know, continue to have goals. And then you actually, we don't have to read the whole paragraph, but when you said, what is the one thing you wish for the most? Lauren, you remember what you
Yeah,
said?
and I said, what's that one thing that you need? And you went and you got your notebook and you wrote it down.
God.
Yeah, you got it. It was God.
God.
Yeah, that's the one thing you needed.
I feel like we could just drop the mic right now and end this.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff in the pages of this book. So with that being said, Mama, the overall takeaway for you then, and this will be my last time I ask you if you would read a little bit, but on page 216, and it starts with one of my biggest takeaways. Could you share that,
Sure.
that faith perspective?
Sure. One of my biggest takeaways throughout this journey is that I was never alone. I have always been a person of strong faith. Throughout the years when life felt challenging, I often silently questioned whether or not God was real. Did all those years of Catholic school help me grow closer to God? Or did it just brainwash me into believing something far-fetched and fictitious? I can now answer with the strongest conviction ever. God is real and was absolutely with me every step of the way. He was the one holding my head up when my strength was gone. God was in that ICU room. I could feel him every step of the way.
And this is a mama who, as poignant as that writing is and deep, this is a mama who's always peppering it with humor too. Page 183, you said, look at, I am a disorganized hot mess. You know, here we are. I'm admiring you so much. And you just put it out there. You said that once, speaking of your Catholic roots, you once sent Maggie to school on the wrong day in a full nun habit costume.
I did. It was a week early.
Ma.
It was Covet's your favorite saint day, and Mary Margaret. Who was she?
Mary Margaret Alico, and her pink Crocs went a week early. I said, we don't have enough money in our 401k for the therapy she's going to need for all the times I screwed up.
Well, if you had $1 for every time I laughed out loud, you would have a good start to that 401k. It was just, this book is just fantastic. And even in the serious things that you came to realize that these night terrors, is that what you call them? That they were in fact real PTSD, you learned later, but it's such sense of humor. You said, I've come to terms with it. But while I am asleep, I'm freaking hilarious. That's exact word. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Tell me quickly
really
about
funny.
those.
Asleep, I'm really funny. Yeah.
Because give me an example of one of those. Will you just tell me about one of those?
So, and it started when I was in Chicago. I think once she was out of the woods and I knew, I wasn't worried about her not making it through the day. Then I was able to process, what I had already been through. And the way it manifested was in my sleep. I would wake up in a panic and I would always have dreams that one of my children was dying and I had the key to save them, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So I would jump out of bed. And one time I ran into my son's room. His room is the closest one. So unfortunately, he was on the receiving end of my craziness a lot. And I was standing in his doorway and I'm like, Ryan, you have to push the button. Because in my head, he's got to push this button or he's going to die. And he's like, what button? And I'm like, I don't know, the button. And I just would scream at him because I couldn't get him to understand how serious it was to push the button. But yet I had no idea what the button was, where it was. I was like in a semi-conscious state. And then once I would wake up enough to realize, okay, I'm asleep. This is one of my episodes. I would go back to bed and then I would lay in my bed like is there a button? Should I go back and check again? So it was never even though I realized it was crazy, I was never like totally aware, and later, and this one isn't in the book because it's one of the later ones, after I wrote the book, and my son's girlfriend was over. They were watching a movie in our great room, which our room's upstairs, and we have the 2-story great room. So I ran out of my room and I'm standing at the balcony and I'm in my underwear. So she got baptized in the family early on with the crazy mother running in the family, and I running into the family room, and I'm like, is there a bag of concrete down there? And they're like, Mom, you're asleep, go back to bed. And they just laugh. And his girlfriend Jill was just like, that's not funny, you guys. So we just learned to laugh, and the kids know, when I come running, that usually it's just my subconscious being a little crazy, and all I can do is laugh. It's if my craziness comes out when I'm asleep, I guess that's better. Then I'm sure it comes out sometimes too when I'm awake, but it's worse when I'm asleep. And I think that's when my brain shuts off enough to where part of me isn't willing to process everything yet that I've went through, and it's tough. It's really
And through all of that come these words of wisdom for anyone listening. I've come to terms with all of this just being another part of the journey.
Mhm.
One thing I can say, I've learned over the last several years that I have very little control over what happens, but I can control how I react. Who can't relate to that? And then, so you drop that great life lesson, and then the very next sentence, I choose to embrace my crazy and find the humor. I'm a pretty funny person, but while I'm asleep, I'm freaking hilarious. So to that end, I want to show one quick video. I'm going to keep an eye on the time here. We try to keep these to a half hour or an hour, but y'all, I could sit here forever with you guys, my new friends who I love so much. But I want to show you a video. Oh, I hope I put it in here. Did it make it in? Oh, here it is. So when we talk about using humor, one of I call him my friend and mentor who doesn't know it yet, Bob Goff, was doing an interview about what makes a good writer. And I just want to show this because you nail this.
In-laws. And if depending on who is in the room, Peter like healing or Jesus healing Peter's mother-in-law, I'm just positive that's why he denied Christ later. It's like he was a little bit out of shape. But like, oh, you had
So
to.
close.
Yeah. So use humor in your writing, lace it because it will engage people, because we want to make people laugh, make people cry, make people think. They don't need to weep, right? But they want to feel the full range of emotions. And if you can do that, use your humor to make people like take a breath, particularly if you've said something that is thought-provoking. Give them a moment. Say something that's either self-effacing or is ironic about that, but don't go around the corner and be.
Mama Murphy nails that in this book. All right. So in beginning to wrap this up, I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to do some videos that just show quick chronological. This was before the accident, dancing on these piano keys with your sister, Lauren. So Mama, you get that video. Okay. And then the next thing you know, this journey starts, the one that you would not have scripted, could not have scripted. And let's take a quick look at some of the progress that she.
Good job. Swimming so cool. That was awesome.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
Doing good. Keep trying with that right hand. So good, Lauren.
Good stretch.
So all of the hard work, this is not just, it's a journey. It's a journey. So we have all of that. And now here you can hardly process the request fast enough for speaking engagements. Can you, Lauren? Here's the card you handed me at Incarnate Word. And look at that. I saved that card. I have a million cards that we get, and I don't save them all. I'm saving this one always. What is this? Public speaker, traumatic brain injury survivor. Tell me how proud you are of that.
Yeah.
I am.
Well, she knows how to work her room too. And you know why you probably got that card? It's because I wasn't there to hold her back. When we go to weddings, I have to check her purse for business cards because I'm like, you're not working this room. This is somebody's wedding. Do not be handing off your cards everywhere you go. So it was probably a good thing I wasn't there with her.
Oh, thank God, Mom.
Her sister. Sometimes it's like holding back a caged lion. And there's times where she's like, I want to go this place and speak. And I'm like, if I wasn't stopping her, she would walk into businesses right and left and be like, I'm here.
That's exactly how I like to speak.
She's pretty bold, which is a good thing. But
work in the room.
Yeah.
Yes, girl, you got it.
You worked hard to get there. I think you should own it. There's
no
stopping you now. There's no stopping you now. And look at this. Look at this. Okay, so we showed at the beginning the picture of you and your mama before the accident. Look, this is now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Praise God. Look at this. This, of course, beautiful. The first thing you think is too beautiful, like mother, like daughter. But when you know your story, the real beauty and the resilience, and that it's the fight is not over. It's a continual challenge, isn't it? It really is.
Of course.
Yeah, and lots of mother-daughter together.
Oh, Mom, Mom.
Yep, it's been a journey.
I know, but when you think about like going back to the place where it happened, that terrible traumatic accident with your strong arm. Lauren, tell me about this picture.
Yeah,
that was when I worked at
when you went back
to LA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went back to visit
strong arms.
Dr. Two.
Yeah. And then
what are those strong arms saying? I made it. I'm back. I'm on what?
That's Hollywood Boulevard.
Well, Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, that's right where she was hit.
And the strong arms, I love it. It's like I'm back.
Back.
And that was never guaranteed because you pointed out a lot of traumatic brain injuries to that extent don't survive.
Exactly.
That was profound.
Yeah.
That was profound.
Yeah.
Lauren, you're killing it. I love you. I love you so much. And someone else does love you as well. And they wanted to just pop in with this little salute to you. Someone who is also a fan of your book. Here we go.
Well, Laura and Colleen, Murphys don't quit. Hello, my friends. It is John O'Leary, your buddy. And when Dawn shared with my wife and me that she was going to be interviewing you today on the podcast, I asked for the opportunity and the honor of just congratulating you, not only on saying yes to the podcast and not only sharing your testimony and sharing your strength, but of modeling it every day, even when no one's looking, even when you're not using words, because we are paying attention and because you are making a mighty impact. Everyone who knows the two of you, everyone who has prayed for the two of you, everyone who has heard the two of you speak, whether it was at some event leading up to today or now on this podcast, has been deeply moved by what you've endured, by the faith that galvanized you, and by the lives that you lead today, including me. I'm in awe and I'm lit up by your lives, in part because you didn't set out on this journey to be known. You didn't set out on this journey to be interviewed on podcasts. You didn't set out on this journey to have a book out there about your lives or to give speaking events about your lives. Instead, you ended up on a journey that you would have never chosen. And yet once it chose you, you chose it. You chose it boldly, and you chose it with courage, and you chose it in such a way that not only informs the life that you get to lead today, but it reminds the rest of us observing your life what we can do in our lives going forward. It is deeply encouraging, deeply inspiring, and we're grateful that you guys, you ladies, don't quit. Keep going. Know that your lives matter. Know that we're watching and we're cheering, and we know that your very best days remain ahead of you. So for this time and until next time, Murphys, my name is John O'Leary, and today is your day. God bless you both. Live inspired.
He's just the absolute best. I was not expecting that. That was awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
And he's someone who again, has done the same thing, has used a really God, really moment of being burned 100% of his body as a child, and now using that story. But by grace, he says the story is being used for good.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yep.
That's what
And
you're
yes,
doing.
And actually, excuse me, you yourself, you are able to speak
Yep. See,
to everyone.
yep. Yeah, she always
Oh.
always makes sure she remembers everybody, which is really good. She doesn't like to leave anybody out with compliments. She is the best with,
Oh,
making
Lauren.
it feel good. But yeah, she is pretty good. Thank you for recognizing Dawn too, because it's
Aw,
Yeah.
that's so sweet of you. You know what? We say together we can, together we will. And you're inspiring me. You're inspiring so many. And the fact that you share in the vulnerability and that you say that it's not a one and done, like we're in this together. And I can't thank you enough. Is there anything else that y'all want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm still in shock of the John O'Leary clip. I was just that was cool. That was really cool. He is a big hero of ours in this house. So, but yeah, no, just
And you yourself, you are.
Yeah. Did I leave her out? I'm sorry.
Yes.
And you're a hero of mine too, Dawn. She doesn't like me leaving you out.
Lauren, I love you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like you don't even know.
Keep in line.
Like I said,
keep
a
up
woman
to
of few
date,
words.
Mom.
Yeah, she keeps me in line.
What'd you say?
I keep Mom up to date.
Yeah.
You kept reminding her. Well, like I say, a woman of few words, and those words meant more to me than you will ever know. Coming from you, my friend, thank you. Just thank you. And God bless you both. And we'll maybe we could just promise to keep in touch and follow up on all these other speaking engagements that you're doing. I thank God for you. God bless you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
for having us.
You are good, good, good. God, you're so good. You are good, good, good. God, you're so good. In all things, at all times.
This has been a Grassroots Good Stuff family production. If you found inspiration here, subscribe and share, if you would, please. And we have big love and gratitude for our social media director. She is Danielle Folk, and she is consistently going above and beyond. Follow her at Farmhouse Storyteller. Hunter Hogan is our editor extraordinaire who connects all the best parts together. TheGoodStuffFamily.com is where you'll find our sponsors and advertisers who we are so grateful for making so much of what we do possible. And find links on how you or your business could make a good stuff story of the future possible. See the good, be the good. That's what we do. How about you? On your mark, get set, let's go.